right, I think we're live. I think we're good to go here. Welcome back to Let's Talk Television. Let's see. So the first couple of minutes, as always here, I'll just try to check the video a little bit and make sure that we're good with the audio and everything. Let's see. It says excellent connection. So hopefully we're good. Like all the other episodes recently, we've been good. I mean, the first couple, it did say something about the bit rate and stuff like this, but ever since then, we've been pretty good with the quality. So looks like we're good. The audio was all good. Testing. All right, so looks like we're all good. So welcome back to Let's Talk Television for this week, or for the last couple weeks, really. It's been I think about 2 weeks now. The bit rate comes up. Looks good. Good connection. Okay. All right. So yeah. So it's been a couple weeks now since last episode of Let's Talk Television. I think I was talking about Dead City. Of course, the premiere came out, and so I wanted to do a lot of stuff on that and really dive into that. And this week, there actually isn't really kind of a main topic, if you will, or a new show that there is a new show that I'm going to talk about, but there hasn't been like a big kind of show that I really want to dive into, do kind of a 20 to 30 minute kind of deep dive into something. But the other thing is that there's been so much news this week, this week and a little bit of last week, about the last 10 days or so, that I thought, okay, it's the 10th episode of Let's Talk Television. Maybe it's fine if I just do kind of a TV news episode. So this will basically be kind of a TV news roundup, if you will, and I think I put that in the description here. So I just have 5 main stories. I might talk about a couple others as well that kind of came up that are still big, but just not as big as the 5 that I've kind of found here in the last 10 days or so. So we're going to go into those, and that's kind of what we'll focus on here as kind of our main topic, if you will. We'll go into all those news topics and talk about them. A couple of them specifically that I put in the title of this episode here, with Suits LA getting canceled and A Night at the Seven Kingdoms, which is the new Game of Thrones spinoff, getting delayed. Those two are kind of ones that I really want to go into here and we'll talk about. So that's kind of what we'll do for this week, for this episode. And then hopefully, I'm going to talk about the Righteous Gemstones in a minute, so I do still, I really wanted to get my review out for Season 4 last week, or a few days ago now, but unfortunately it just didn't work out, and, I really do want to kind of set aside the time. I don't really want to rush through these episodes with Gemstones. It's easy to do because they're not that long, but I don't really want to just rush through and get to the end right away. So I've been trying to kind of pace myself, but still trying to, get through it so that I can do my review. But anyways, not really any excuses or any, reasonable excuses there. I definitely should have had my review out, but I really do plan on doing that soon. And so maybe next week for Let's Talk Television, we come back for another episode. Maybe that'll be kind of the main topic, and I'll kind of spotlight the Righteous Gemstones and its ending. And of course, I'm still going to do a separate review for the season here on the channel. So anyways, we'll start off with this week in TV, and then, like I said, we'll get into our kind of news topics here and get into a bit of a TV news roundup discussion, if you will. All right, so like I just mentioned, this week in TV, just a couple shows here to talk about. Again, been kind of busy, and so I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of shows. Although there hasn't been a lot of new premieres of shows within the last 2 or 3 weeks now. I feel like the first, basically since Valentine's Day, right? February 14th, where we had Yellow Jackets and The White Lotus, I think, come out it was like the same night. Ever since then, up until like 2 weeks ago, it would seem like every week we had a new show starting, and then we still had other shows going. I think at one point I talked about it here on the channel in these Let's Talk Television episodes. I said at one point I had like 7 shows on Sunday nights alone. I think it was like 7 on one night alone that I was like actively watching and trying to keep up with. Obviously, some of them I fell behind, like Gemstones, but, it was insane. So we're getting to kind of a slower part now of the year, I think, and then it looks like it'll pick up again, even starting in June, about maybe a month from now or a little less. we're going to get more of those new shows coming back, and it's going to be kind of hectic again. So anyways, The Righteous Gemstones, Season 4, I'm not quite to the end of it, and like I said, I am going to do a review of the season, so the main thing I just wanted to talk about maybe quickly here is the interlude episode this season, which I thought was really great once again. I will say, though, kind of felt a little similar to Season 3, and I'm starting to get the idea. Again, I haven't finished the season yet all the way through, but I am starting to get the idea that, yeah, maybe it was the best time, for Danny McBride to kind of call it quits for The Righteous Gemstones. I wouldn't have said that before seeing this season, though, because I would have thought, oh, there's tons of opportunities. There's so many ways that you could extend the show for quite a long time. Not obviously like 15 seasons or something like a sitcom, but I think you could have gotten to a season 6 or at least a season 5 pretty easily here, right? But now after seeing this, especially seeing the interlude episode and just kind of how similar the plot points are really going, well, compared to season 3, maybe it is the case of kind of Danny McBride and crew, right? Obviously his writing team and Jody Hill, David Gordon Green, his producers with Rough House and all the people involved. It did seem like maybe there was a little bit of kind of, lack of freshness, lack of that originality there that they had, through the first 3 seasons of the show, with this season in particular. So that's not necessarily saying it's bad, because I love season 3, right? And I really love this interlude episode, but it's just very similar. So I just, I guess those are my thoughts there. It's not bad. It's just something that I've seen before. And so that naturally kind of just discounts how good it is, in my opinion. So anyways, that's what it is for season 4. Like I said, I'll have much more to talk about in my review for the season, and just obviously doing kind of a bigger picture as well. I want to discuss a little bit more on, kind of what The Righteous Gemstones has meant for, it was almost 3 years, right, between season 1 and 2, but technically, 4 years, really, of television that we got from that show. So, really great stuff, and obviously some really great moments in season 4 that I've just absolutely loved. No other show has matched the level, in terms of comedies at least, that the Gemstones has gotten so far this year for me. So, really great stuff, but I will obviously report back once I've seen it. So, all right, so the next show that I did want to talk about, it is a new show that premiered just this week, just a couple days ago. I think it was like Thursday, I want to say. It's an HBO Max original show. It is called Duster, and it stars Josh Holloway, and I forget the actress's name, who's the other main character now, but Keith David is in it as well. I want to say it's Elson, right? I am going to actually look this up real quick. I'm going to look it up real quick because I don't want to, not include the name, because I thought she was really good also, by the way. But I think it's Elson. Oh, sorry, Rachel Hilson. Rachel Hilson. So that's what it is. So, starring Josh Holloway and Rachel Hilson. Was it? Yeah, Rachel Hilson, right? That's what it was? That's what it was? I got to get it right. I think it was Rachel Hilson, right? I keep thinking it's Elson, Rachel Hilson. Okay. All right. We got it. So Rachel Hilson, starring Josh Holloway and Rachel Hilson, and then Keith David as well, are kind of our 3 main actors maybe in this cast. And I did see some, stuff about this. This was not on my radar at all going into the year. I didn't really know about it, to be honest. And then I saw some, I think the trailer a few weeks ago, and then some people were talking about it. And of course, Josh Holloway is a big draw, right? Probably the most famous from Lost. But I know him from Colony. I haven't seen the whole show, but I did do a review for the pilot episode here on the channel. If you're at all interested in that, it is on the channel. And then I watched a few more episodes of season 1, trying to get into Colony. So I do know him from that show. I have not seen all of Lost. I've seen I think the pilot, maybe like till episode 4 or something. So I've seen him in the show, but obviously I haven't really, got the whole Josh Holloway experience, if you will, from Lost. So really great to see him in this. He is just really charismatic, really magnetic. The character that they, build up for him in this, I think it's Jim Ellis is his name. It's just a perfect casting, I think, really. I do think there's a few other people that could play him, right? I actually think Timothy Olyphant would have been, an interesting choice. I kind of see some parallels between Josh Holloway and him. Just especially like at this point, I think they're similar ages now. Just the look that they have, very attractive, obviously. The kind of longer hair, if you get Oliphant with his longer hair and that kind of thing. So, I think it's just an interesting casting choice that they made, but I think Josh Holloway is so good in the role. Like I said, just fits it perfectly the way he portrays this kind of, macho, kind of cool, really charismatic guy. I mean, everywhere he goes, women are kind of winking at him. All the dudes kind of respect him, right? And so you definitely get that sense. And Rachel Hilson, I thought, is doing a pretty good job so far as well. She really is kind of nailing this kind of dynamic, which, I'll talk more about this in a minute, but, nothing crazy, nothing groundbreaking with the show in terms of the writing for the characters or the plot or anything like that. But she is playing this kind of, if you will, cliche of, this kind of, by the look of it, she doesn't seem, very threatening or, very intimidating, if you will. This kind of thing, right? She's a, short, a black woman, right? Especially in the time period this is set, which is the 70s, which is a huge part of the show, which I'll talk about. Because of that, and just because of how, she looks physically, that is kind of what you would think. And then, of course, it's the kind of cliche of that she's much more than that. She is, feisty, she's determined, and, she is even, kind of aggressive towards Jim Ellis and getting him on board in the episode, and you just wouldn't expect that. So it's kind of this, unexpected character, and I think she plays that really well. Keith David as well, he doesn't get a lot of time in this first episode, but, I mean, he's just so magnetic, and so, I really liked him. He was in Justified City Primeval as well in the first couple episodes of that, playing a kind of a similar kind of villain role, and I really liked him in that, and I think he's just really good at that kind of performance. So really great stuff from the cast, and some other names that I recognized here as well, playing smaller roles, were good too. So obviously the time period of the 70s, and of course Josh Holloway's Jim Ellis, he's driving a cherry red Duster, the actual car from the 70s, and that's, of course, the name of the show. So that plays a massive role. Obviously, the costumes, the set design, even the way, like, some of the fonts are used, kind of the title cards, right, in the episode, what else, like the writing, right, some of the performances are kind of in that respect, the makeup, like, just everything going into this is very stylized for the 70s. Of course, the score, the soundtrack as well, playing some, hits from the 70s, and we're getting some, where Josh Holloway turns on the radio, and of course we hear the song that we all know. It's a 70s hit that he's listening to on the radio. So stuff like this, just really encompassing, that 70s vibe, and it works really well. It works really well, I think, Could they have gone, a little bit more in some of it? Maybe, but it's also an HBO Max show, right? Like, it's not a, primetime HBO show or an Apple show where they could, pour so much money into this. And I'm sure it's not a cheap show, but it's not quite on that level, right? And so I think with what they have to work with and, the settings, the locations that they've done, I think it's really good. And they are filming in New Mexico, even though it takes place in Phoenix, Arizona. And I think that's just really cool. Obviously, from Breaking Bad, New Mexico is just a really cool place to film, especially when you find, the locations that Breaking Bad and even this show has been able to find so far. It just looks really sick, really cool. So, J.J. Abrams and LaToya Morgan are the creators here. I think Morgan wrote for The Walking Dead and Preacher, or maybe Into the Badlands, some of those AMC shows there. And then obviously J.J. Abrams is J.J. Abrams. Though an interesting thing is, if you look on his IMDb, this is actually his first, basically his first writing credit since the Star Wars films. Which I thought was like, maybe that's just an obvious thing, but to me that was really shocking. I felt like he has done a lot more in the last few years, but in terms of at least just writing, that's it. This is it. So pretty cool to see him back in the fold, first time in about 6 years that he's had a writing credit on something here. So interesting. Like I said, at the beginning, the writing here, there's nothing really new. It feels like they're trying to kind of build up Keith David's character, Saxton, in a way where it is like, a really grueling, crime boss and this kind of thing. But, at the end of the day, we've seen this before. I don't think that, again, it's just the first episode, but I don't think that it has a whole lot to offer, in terms of, he's going to be this crazy, villain. Like, no, I think it's probably more so similar to other kind of villains or crime bosses that we've seen in other shows. Keith David's great in his performance, but, it is what it is, right? And so it's basically this familiar story, that we've seen before, right? Though it's coded in this kind of 70s style aesthetic. And, of course, you have Josh Holloway, who's just magnetic in that lead performance. And then Rachel Hilson has been really good so far as well. So, I was kind of impressed with it, though. Like, it did kind of exceed my expectations for what this was. Obviously, they are trying to play on the fact, part of the story is that Rachel Hilson is playing the first black FBI agent, or I think it's the first black female FBI agent. And so obviously that's playing a part in it. That stuff, again, we're getting in kind of the same kind of cliche territory a little bit with that story, to me at least. And it's very repetitive in this first episode. It's just really kind of surface level stuff there. So towards the end of the episode, we did get some things revealed, about these characters, especially about Rachel Hilson's character as in Nina Hayes, I think. How her father was involved with Saxton, and so she has that past. I would have liked to learn that a little earlier in the episode, because it kind of explains more about her character and gives her some more development and makes her, to me, like a lot more likable throughout this, first episode. So that would just be my thing. And also the last thing I'll say about the show is I do wonder if this may have just been a better binge type of show rather than something, on HBO Max, where we're releasing week by week. I think, especially the way this first episode ends and just the way that it's set up, and especially with the writing, right, the style of this writing not being necessarily anything new, to me, I think, and it's not like the deepest show either, this would be a perfect way, to have a show, all 8 episodes at once and binge, this show and really get into it, really get kind of addicted into this story about Saxon. It's this kind of thriller, right? And so you really want to learn more. You want to watch the next episode. You want to get the next detail rather than something where it's deep, you want to think about it, you want to, appreciate it and wait, days before that next episode and really discuss with people. So, I just wonder if maybe it will be better regarded maybe if it had been a binge show, all 8 episodes at once. But we'll have to see. I have heard some more, positive buzz on this, so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts if you have watched it here, and see what you think as well. But anyways, we'll have to see the next few weeks here for Duster on HBO Max. Should be an interesting one. Like I said, exceeded my expectations. I will definitely be checking out probably another episode of the series here. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it turns out. All right, so that'll just about do it then for this week in TV. Like I said, only a couple shows there off the top. And let's just see here. I want to keep track of the chat as well, the live chat here. Ooh, it's kind of lagging a little bit. All right, let's hope that stays where it is. Okay, that should be good. What do we have here? Just want to make sure on the chat. Okay, we're good. All right. So that's This Week in TV. Okay, so now, like I said, it's going to be kind of a TV news roundup this week. So let's get into some of these news stories. All right. So we have 5 main ones, and I might get to 2 depending on the kind of the time we have for this episode here. All right. So the first one then is obviously in the title, and so we'll do this one first. If it can load here, it's kind of lagging a little bit. All right, I think we're okay. Hopefully the stream stays okay with the lag. I'm hoping. It looks fine though. It looks fine. All right. Okay, so the first article here from Deadline. All these articles are in the description, linked below, so you can check these out if you're at all interested in them. So the first one here, Suits LA is canceled by NBC after 1 season. So when I saw this news, I was kind of surprised and kind of like, okay, right, okay, this makes sense, right? So on the channel here, I've done a few videos. Actually, I did specifically in a Let's Talk Television episode here on the channel, live show dedicated to Suits LA and kind of the problem with just the whole concept of the show. Just for a kind of maybe a quick recap here is that Aaron Korsh wanted to get a new show on the air since Suits, finished airing. He went to NBC Universal, pitched them this show about, I think it was kind of agents, right? Or, celebrity agents, I guess, in LA. NBC Universal sees that Suits is doing so well, and so basically they tell him if he wants a show on the air, if he wants to get another job creating another show, he has to make it a Suits show where we can have a tie-in and we have an opportunity to bring Harvey in and some older characters from the original show. So that's kind of what happened here. I don't, like I've said in those videos, I don't really blame Aaron Korsh for what has happened here with Suits LA. He wanted a show on the air. This was the only way. He also tweeted this out, by the way. This is where I've kind of gathered this information and a couple other articles as well. So anyways, this was kind of the way that he was able to get a show on the air, is to do something like this. I said in some of my videos, I think this is just a really dumb way, I'll just say it, dumb way for NBC Universal to go at this. I think they either should have just let Aaron Korsh do a different show, or just fully do a Suits, sequel series, basically, get Gabriel Macht, get everybody back, or at least the main stars, and do that. I think they were trying to do both here, instead of kind of just going with an original concept, or just fully kind of committing to a Suits spinoff, and tried to kind of shoehorn Suits into the show that maybe necessarily wasn't originally planned to be that. So anyways, that's kind of what I've talked about here on the channel with this. And so, like I said, seeing this, okay, right? That was kind of my reaction, okay. But there was a part of me that was a little bit surprised here, because what a fumble here, right? Like, what an absolute fumble from NBC Universal, given the fact that Suits was so popular, right? And some people may not agree with that, but that's just my opinion. I think this is a really bad fumble because of how popular Suits was on Netflix, and I feel like a lot of people discount, how big of a show Suits was when it was airing. I feel like some people forget that now and just think it's just a Netflix show or whatever. Like, I watched Suits when it was live for, I want to say, like, at least, probably like in season 4 or 5. So 5, 6, at least 5 seasons about, right? I watched it live. Like, I was there. I was part of the discussion, in the Suits subreddit and all this stuff. Like, it was a big show, right? So let's not discount that. It was a big show during its run. It was on USA Network, so it wasn't like an HBO or anything. But yeah, really great ratings when it was on. And then it went to Netflix and got even bigger. I think it was like the #1 streaming show for a year or something like that. So anyways, it started out really big, and then it got even bigger. And then they want to do another spin-off of that kind of IP since it became so popular. And so, to me, the kind of surprise element of my reaction here is that they would just cut the cord so early in this. And, to me, that's a fumble. Like, yes, just the show not being very good, or this kind of mixed reception on it because of how weird it felt, right, at times, especially just even in the pilot episode. That was a fumble. But it's also, to me, a fumble of just giving up on this show so early, so quickly, even though you had all this popularity and all this good faith from the show, from its success on Netflix coming into this. So, yeah, that's kind of my reaction here for this. We'll just go a little bit into the article here from Deadline. It's one and done for NBC's legal drama Suits LA, headlined by Stephen Amell. Given the high-profile IP involved, NBC had high expectations, right? Just what I said, that exactly. They should, right? Had high expectations for the series from Suits creator Aaron Korsh. They just never materialized. After an okay premiere, viewership for the offshoot, which airs on Sunday, has remained low. That is with NBC and Korsh pulling out all the stops and bringing back popular original cast members to play with the new cast. This included Gabriel Macht, who reprised the role of Harvey Specter in a 3-episode arc. And then I guess spoilers if you haven't watched, the later episodes of the show, if you're at all interested or care. But Rick Hoffman as eccentric Louis Litt came back in episode 12, and David Costabile as Daniel Hardman in episode 9. Additionally, in an effort to bring in more eyeballs, NBC staged a Thursday night Suits LA takeover with a 3-hour marathon of repeats on March 27th. So that was a big commitment there. And there have been modest week-to-week rating bumps here and there, but overall viewership has remained low, hovering over the 1 million mark on linear in live plus same day the last couple of weeks. That's tough. That is tough for NBC. Again, if this was on USA Network, that's not bad, I don't think, right? But for NBC, I mean, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad, right? The series did not become a major streaming draw either, despite the mothership's recent resurgence on Netflix, which prompted NBC to pursue the offshoot, like I said. Ultimately, it became clear that Suits LA had been rejected by fans, and it was going to take a big marketing effort to try and bring them back, even with the show improving creatively throughout the season and getting closer to the original tonally. So this is an interesting point that they make here, and I've seen a lot of people share this opinion, is that the show, and I did not make it to the later episodes, by the way. I think I watched till about episode 5 or 6. It was like a couple episodes after Harvey came back that I made it to here, and partially because I wasn't that interested in the show, but also just because at one point I had I want to say over 10 shows that were all premiering each week that I was trying to keep up with, so it kind of fell through the cracks a little bit. But anyways, this is what I've heard, though, from some people, and I would even agree. I think which episode was it? I think it was, both. I think the pilot and episode 2 were worse episodes than, all of the ones that followed. So, yeah, I agree with this. I think some people have said that it did get better, and it actually was improving as the season went on. And so this is the interesting point, which is, what kind of a fumble is this that the show actually was getting better, as the season went on, and the reception was maybe improving for those people who were still giving it a chance at that point, and they still cut it so quickly. They cut the cord and just completely gave up on this show. So that, to me, is where the little bit of a surprise comes in, right? So the article goes on to talk about how, it's the second Suits spinoff, of course, to run for only one season and then getting canceled. Of course, the Jessica Pearson spinoff, Pearson, was in that boat as well. And this is the other thing, though, that I want to get into where, I think it's easy to say, oh, what an absolute failure, for the show. And, they really, even some people I've seen, like Aaron Korsh is, this was a horrible disaster, for him and all this stuff. And, fair enough, right? Well, I wouldn't go that far. I do think there was obviously some problems, even just beyond the original, conception, for the series. I think, some of the writing was definitely, especially, I think it was episode 2, it was just ridiculous. Some of the writing there I thought was insane that it even made to a final cut, some of the stuff that was in there. So all that aside, this is also part of a bigger story, to be honest with you. Again, it's easy to kind of talk about all that stuff, but you have to acknowledge the bigger picture here, and that is that NBC canceled almost every one of their, shows, basically, or at least the ones that just had 1 or 2 seasons so far, just this week. So when this news came out that Suits LA was canceled, it was the same day or maybe the day before that all these other shows got canceled, right? The Irrational, Found, they list here, Night Court, Lopez vs. Lopez. There was a few other ones too. There was at least 7 or 8 of them that NBC canceled just within 2 days of each other. So They say in the article here they're trying to make space for the basketball coverage, right, that they're going to get next season because NBC Universal just signed this $2.5 billion a year deal with the NBA for broadcasting rights, right, for basketball. And so obviously that's going to take a massive chunk of their schedule during the week. I guess weekends wouldn't really be affected, but during the week, it's going to take that. So yes, I think we can, acknowledge all this stuff about, the show and talk about this stuff, but we also have to acknowledge that this played a part as well, right? Had there not been this contract for all this basketball coverage next year, and NBC was more confident, willing to give a longer leash to a lot of these shows, would Suits LA have survived? Maybe. I think it's fair to say maybe, actually. I think it could have actually probably survived if it wasn't for all these kind of extenuating factors that were going on with NBC. And so I think this is something that we need to acknowledge as well in talking about this kind of failure. Now, I don't want to discount the fact that, yes, the show wasn't very good, at least in the beginning. The conception just originally was flawed because they tried to make a Suits spin-off show while also trying to do an original concept with new characters that nobody really wanted to see. Aaron Korsh definitely didn't want to do it, even though he was the creator of the damn show. So yeah, lots of problems. I don't want to discount that, but this is definitely something that we should consider in talking about this cancellation for Suits LA here on NBC. So, anyways, that's kind of one of the bigger stories there for this week, or at least for the last couple weeks maybe, that Suits LA is canceled. So, is there, a world where we could have, got a season 2, we could have improved even more, on Suits LA? Were there more places to go? Could we have brought back, character like Mike, which I did a video on, and turns out I was kind of right on that. It obviously just reading the tea leaves at the time, it didn't seem like the show would be kind of a long running show. And I thought even in that video, maybe Mike may not even get a chance to guest in the series or come on board because it might get canceled by the time, they tried to do something like that. And so, that's kind of what ended up happening, of course, but had we gone to season 2, could Mike have been in it? Could you have brought back more of these characters? Yes. And are we done? I guess that's really the question here. Are we done with Suits? Is this it? Was this kind of blowing up or explosion in viewership and popularity for the show on Netflix all for naught, right? Like, was that just now NBC Universal has completely wasted it? I don't know, right? Like, I'm really not sure, where you can go from here. I would rather, either maybe it's kind of a confusing thing at this point, but maybe just come back with a full spinoff of Suits or a sequel series of Suits, or you let Aaron Korsh, who is a good writer who came up with Suits originally, was the creator of it and wrote, the concept of the show, maybe you let him go with a truly original concept for a new show and let that kind of grow some legs, catch on, and really become the next Suits. So then you don't have to use the IP of Suits, over and over again to try to get ratings and try to get some, good numbers for your network. Maybe you let him do an original show, and yeah, maybe you might have to give it a couple seasons to really catch on and really get going. But once it does, if he's able to do something and capture that kind of magic like he did with Suits, it really pays off in the end, and you're going to be even rewarded more than you would have by having 1 or 2 seasons of this spinoff before it ultimately fails because the nostalgia kind of dies off and the show just isn't that great. So anyways, those are just my thoughts on, kind of the future of the Suits IP, if you will, at this point, and kind of NBC Universal's take on it. Really just disappointing how this all turned out with Suits LA, but it is what it is. I think some people, including myself, kind of saw it coming just with the way that the show was built and the way that they approached this. And it is unfortunate, though. I don't take pride in really saying that because I'm a Suits fan. I wanted to see another Suits thing succeed, and obviously we haven't seen that with Pearson or now this show. So yeah, it is what it is. Unfortunate news here, but maybe some people are happy. I don't know, but it is what it is with Suits LA being canceled here. So Anyways, that'll do it basically for our thoughts on Suits LA. Might be the last time, I guess. Well, probably the last time that I'll talk about it here on the channel. So definitely wanted to devote a little bit of time to going into that and really going into Suits LA. And I will say the one main positive to me out of this is that Stephen Amell can be in another show. Because I do really like him. Whatever you think of his, personal life or whatever aside, I do really like him as an actor. I think his work in Heels was really phenomenal. And just the projects that he has chosen, especially with Heels and championing that so much, I really respected him for. So, we'll see. We'll see what he does next. I am looking forward to that. Hopefully he'll be, kind of in demand the same way that he was for the Suits LA project. So, all right, so I'll just do it then for the discussion on Suits LA, and if we can get loading here a little bit. We have okay, let me check the chat here, and this is why I gotta keep on with the chat. Because we're gonna miss stuff. Okay, so Bray Profits? Yo, what's up, man? I need a TV show recommendation. Oh, okay. I think I recognize you, I want to say from one of the Walking Dead videos recently, but if I'm wrong, then I apologize. But anyways, I need a TV show recommendation, something that's Breaking Bad and Stranger Things level. All right. So let me know, by the way, if you are still here, by the way, which I'm sorry if you chatted this a little bit ago. But anyways, if you are still here, let me know if it was that Walking Dead video that I'm, or maybe I'm just misremembering. But anyways, something that's Breaking Bad and Stranger Things level, I mean, not many shows to me are on Breaking Bad level and Stranger Things. What's something, I mean, obviously, have you watched Better Call Saul, right? I mean, that's kind of like the main thing that you go to next after Breaking Bad. It's kind of, the prequel, to Breaking Bad, and, not want to spoil anything, but we do get a lot of connections to Breaking Bad, obviously, as one would assume, as we get later in Better Call Saul. So definitely some stuff there. What else? To me, I think, obviously like a show like The Sopranos is right there with Breaking Bad in terms of you're talking about that kind of prestige television level that I think you're talking about. I would say Sopranos, it's 6 seasons. It's a bit of an investment. It's a lot of episodes, but just really great show. Succession, I would throw in there too. Obviously, I have heard, it's maybe a little off-putting to new viewers trying to get into it. And, I understand that. I would say definitely, I really hate this, though, when people say this. You have to watch till, season 2 to really get the show. But I actually think Succession is one of the few shows that actually is true for. You do really need to watch till about episode 5 or 6 of the first season. And I think that's really when it hits its stride. So maybe those ones there. I'm trying to think of other shows. If you want something in the vein of Stranger Things, kind of like that mystery box creature, kind of a little bit of horror in there, I would suggest Yellow Jackets. The season 2 and 3 of it so far have not quite lived up, but season 1 of Yellow Jackets, I think, even if you just want to watch that season, is really good. I really do like it, and I think for those people who really love Stranger Things, I think it's definitely something that you could like as well. So that's what I would say. Again, I'm not sure if you're still here, so I apologize, but any of those, right? So Better Call Saul for sure, Sopranos, Succession, and then maybe Yellow Jackets if you want something like Stranger Things as well. All right, so let me just refresh this a little bit and make sure that we're good on the chat here. Yeah, it looks like we are. Okay. Let's see if we can just see. I'm trying to see if this chat will load. I'm trying to get and I keep saying this, and I really gotta kind of look into it and see if this is the case. And now I'm lagging a little bit, so I hope that I'm not missing stuff here, or the stream is lagging at all. Hopefully that's just on my end. But anyways, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to do it another time and figure out this chat so that I can have a way to see it as well. I thought there used to be a thing where you could kind of pop it out and have it in a different window. Doesn't I can't find that now. Anyways, so a little off topic there, but I'll try to check the chat and see if you kind of chime back in and say anything, or somebody else comes in and adds to the discussion. But anyway, so no worries there at all. All right, so the next story then is Fallout renewed for Season 3 ahead of Season 2 premiere in December. So this one's from Variety, and just that headline alone, I was like, the way that they word that, it's kind of like, oh, we were just supposed to know that the Season 2 was premiering in December. Maybe I was under a rock or something, but I'm pretty on top of things with TV news. And I had no idea that this was confirmed at all, that Fallout Season 2 was coming in December, which let's just talk about that first, because that just caught my eye. The Season 2, is premiering in December, right? Awesome. One word for that is awesome. Like, that is really honestly impressive to me that they're able to do that. And I am a little bit weary on if they're actually going to be able to follow through on that. I would hope, but given the amount of effects work in this show, and I will say, like, especially that first episode of Season 1 of Fallout, like, that looks cinematic to me. Like, that is right there on par with a lot of great, movies. I guess if you want to, Jonathan Nolan, obviously, behind Fallout, his brother, Christopher Nolan, to me, that's like almost on par with some of the stuff in Oppenheimer. Like, it just felt so cinematic, so epic. And I think a lot of the effects work and a lot of the directing was to that credit, for it looking that good. So given that, I'm hoping that they can keep that up and be able to deliver us a season by December with all the effects work that goes into the show. That to me is just really impressive. And if they are able to do that and they follow through on that, and we see this next season in December of this year, so that means that 2 seasons in 2 calendar years for this show, which again is so impressive to me. And really points out the, what is so wrong with modern TV. Obviously, like, it's more than a year, right? Because we got the Season 1 in April. So it's going to end up being like about a year and a half, right, between seasons. But for a show like this, I think that's pretty good, actually. And it makes shows like House of the Dragon, Three Body Problem. Just recently, they had a news come out that, like, oh, don't expect a season until 2028. It's like how do you, said 2024, Season 1 aired in 2024, it's like, how do you possibly, like, even know at this point? 4 years down the line now, we're supposed to expect another season of the show? Like, you'll have to rewatch the show, like, twice to even remember by then, what has happened in the show. And then House of the Dragon, we'll get into some of that news in just a few minutes here when I talk about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Like, this, to me, like, yes, it's over a year. Okay, also look at the amount of effects and amount of work that goes into a show like Fallout. I think that's definitely something to consider here. But even then, like, a year and a half, I'll take it. I think that's really impressive, and I think they deserve a lot of credit at Prime Video for doing that, for being able to. And again, I could be wrong. This could be delayed. It could happen. But if they do deliver a December release for Season 2, I think that's really impressive. So here from the article, Prime Video has renewed the hit video game series for a Season 3 ahead of the Season 2 premiere this December. Season 2 will pick up in the aftermath of Season 1's epic finale and take audiences along for a journey through the wasteland of the Mojave to the post-apocalyptic city of New Vegas. To date, more than 100 million viewers have watched Season 1, putting it in the top 3 Prime Video titles ever. The video game adaptation was a hit when it premiered in April 2024, and it's based on the popular post-apocalyptic gaming franchise of the same name, of course, based on the Fallout games. It does seem like we get a little spoilers here for the Season 1 finale, so if you do go on this article and you're not caught up or something like that, don't read past the first few paragraphs here. I did not realize that they just completely spoiled the Season 1 finale, but anyways, hopefully, I guess if anyone's interested in this, they had probably seen the finale by now. But anyways, So we get some articles here, and if the president's at Prime or whatever it is. It says global head of television, are absolutely thrilled that our global Prime Video customers will be able to delve deeper into the wonderfully surreal and captivating world of Fallout. And together with our amazing partners at Bethesda Games, we are delighted to announce a third season of Fallout well ahead of the much anticipated debut of Season 2. So that's what it is. So we talked about Season 2 premiering. Season 2 premiering in December. Now let's just talk quickly about the renewal here, obviously, because that's basically the main news of this article, apparently, because we were all just supposed to know that Season 2 was coming out in December. Again, may have been a foresight, or not a foresight, a mistake on my part, oversight, on my part for that. Maybe I missed it. But anyways, Season 3 coming for Fallout, which is awesome. I have not played the game, so I'm not sure that I can go too deep into things here, into what Season 3 may cover, or, what game it might go into. I know there's 4 or 5 games. I could be wrong, but something around there, I think. And so maybe that's what it is. Maybe each season will be depicting a game. Obviously, they'll probably be adding a lot of stuff as well into there, and so that's something that we could see. But just strictly from a, surface level thing of this, right, of just seeing that they've renewed Season 3, 8 months almost before Season 2 even comes out. That is awesome. And it even then goes more so into what I was talking about them being able to deliver a season, within the next calendar year, is that they've renewed now Season 3 this early, right? So 8 months before Season 2, which means that they'll be able to get Season 3 out probably within the next calendar year as well, right? It'll probably be then a 2026, right? Or probably 2026 release of that one, since they've renewed it so early that even they're in production for Season 2 right now, or maybe it's just wrapping up. I'm surprised that they don't actually talk about that in this article. But anyways, I do remember seeing, that they were in production. I believe it was December or January of this year, I want to say. So maybe it has wrapped by now, but either way, this means that they can get into, they may even be working on scripts, right? The start of scripts for Season 3 now that it's been renewed. And that just speeds up the process exponentially. Just really makes this be, kind of a really, quick, efficient, assembly line almost. I don't want to reduce it to that because, the quality here is amazing for the show. But it is like that. It's an assembly line producing a season each calendar year and getting us, ready for this next season and delivering it on time. So that to me is really impressive, and I think we have to give Amazon, Prime Video a lot of credit here for what they're doing. And I think a lot of shows, like I said, House of the Dragon, Three Body Problem, some of these other ones, they should take notes with this. Now, again, it's a gamble, obviously. Let's say Season 2 doesn't turn out, quite as good as Season 1. The viewership falls off, and now they're stuck with a Season 3 that they've already renewed, right? So there is a gamble here, but again, for a show like Fallout, for how big it was in terms of popularity and awards, I mean, the Emmy, they talk about the Emmy stuff at the bottom of the article here, really great. Just amazing success from critics and viewers alike, right? For shows like this, where House of the Dragon I would put right in that mix as well, there is, I don't know, again, who am I to say, but to me, there's no reason why you would need to wait and not renew a show at least, months before it premieres. I don't know about 8 months, but months before it premieres, so that you can get the track going here. You can get the train, roaring down that track and get this assembly line going for the next season of the show. And then you're able to deliver seasons, faster, more efficiently. So anyways, that's just my take on this. That is the case. Again, I have not played the video games, and so I can't really dive that deep into what the actual seasons will, have in store, what they're going to explore based on the video game material. However, it is just really great news from that standpoint, and definitely raises some questions for some other shows and some other franchises and some other streaming services, right, that are doing it wrong, in my opinion, right now. So Anyways, that is it. That will do it for Fallout. So it's renewed for a Season 3, and we can look forward to Season 2, hopefully in December of this year. All right, so really great stuff, and I did really enjoy Fallout Season 1. I thought it was a little uneven at times, but other than that, a really great season of television. One of my favorites from last year. I think it was my top 8 or top 9. It was right up there in terms of my favorite or best shows of last year. So really looking forward to Season 2 here coming later this year. All right, so let's check the chat here again. Anything new? No, nothing new. I've got to refresh this thing. Okay, looks like we're good there. All right, so that'll do it for the Fallout news there. Looking forward to Season 2 and the renewal there. All right, so the next story here, this is from the Wrap article, The Office spinoff titled The Paper to premiere in September. So this also goes along with a lot of other news from Peacock or NBC Universal, the kind of parent company of all these, Peacock, NBC, all the stuff, right? They had a huge thing, upfronts for all the networks and these streamers, I guess, too, with Peacock. Was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. Anyways, so this was part of this big news, and so this article from the Wrap actually goes into, it says, Peacock's bold 2025-2026 programming slate. So it kind of goes into that, but to me, the biggest news, obviously, from this article and just from their, content or their slate that they call it here, is the spinoff of The Office that's titled The Paper. So, and of course, the fact that we get a premiere date now, and it is September. So Peacock unveiled a bold programming slate ahead of the NBC Universal-owned streamer, headlined by the September premiere of The Office spinoff titled The Paper from creators Greg Daniels and Michael Common. The comedy series starring attendees Domhnall Gleeson, who's from About Time, and he was in the show with Steve Carell, was he not? The Patient, I want to say it was called, and got a lot of good buzz for that role as well with Steve Carell. I'm just going to make sure that is correct. I think it was called The Patient with Steve Carell. I know that was a big show there. The Patient. Maybe the name of it is wrong, but perhaps he was still in the series with Steve Carell. Let's see here. Things are a little slow here, but it is what it is. Yep, that's exactly. So The Patient with Steve Carell, Domhnall Gleeson. So he was in that one, and then Sabrina Impacciatori, who was in The White Lotus. I believe she was in Season 2 of that show. Could have been Season 1 maybe, but also Oscar Nunez is coming back from the original show, who I think right now is the only one returning from that original cast for this spinoff. So that's an interesting thing. And so they also unveiled a first look as part of NBC Universal's upfront presentation on Monday. And then that picture here, I'll try to put it up, obviously, is in this article here of Domhnall Gleeson kind of standing on a desk here, supposedly at this new paper company, or I guess it's a newspaper company now, instead of like Dunder Mifflin, right? So it says here, it's set in the same universe as The Office, and the show features the same documentary crew that were following the staff at Dunder Mifflin. Now they're following the staff of a Toledo newspaper called The Truth Teller, and its eager publisher fighting to bring it back to life. An exact premiere date is yet to be revealed, but like I said, it is going to be in September. So really, interesting stuff here. They're following a newspaper company now instead of, a paper company like Dunder Mifflin. And it's following a publisher of the newspaper, obviously, who's played by Domhnall Gleeson. So it says the show headlines a slate presentation for the streamer, which also boasts new unscripted releases and interactive features to come for their live streams of NBA games starting this fall. So this is an interesting thing too, and you can go into the article and really go into this. I guess they said that a new animated series of Ted is coming out. There's a new show with is it Mike Schur, right, and Amy Poehler. I've actually talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the show here. It's called Dig. That show is coming out. There's one with Keke Palmer called The Burbs, which I'm actually looking forward to. Mark Proksch from What We Do in the Shadows is going to be in that one. There's a new Tiffany Haddish show. There's the John Wayne Gacy show, which seemed kind of interesting. Michael Chernus is playing John Wayne Gacy from Severance. He is Rickon, right, from Severance. So I thought that was a really great casting for that one. There's a few other ones, that were announced. So, anyways, lots of stuff to go into. But like I said, I do want to, just focus on the paper because I feel like that was the biggest one, and that is the name of the series. So now, if we go into a little bit more of the details. Like I said, it's the same documentary crew that were at Dunder Mifflin, and now it's this new, newspaper, that they're following now at their office. So we will probably get some nods and some references, to, what they did at Dunder Mifflin, what this crew saw and all this stuff. And then the fact that we're getting Oscar Nunez back, we'll probably get, the character of Oscar, in this. I'm not sure, how this all works. I'm not sure. I didn't make it also to the end of The Office all the way. So maybe there's a tie-in here that I'm missing, or maybe this is just a brand new thing that they've come up with. I'm not sure on that one. But either way, there should be some connections here, right? It's in the same universe. Everything that happened in Dunder Mifflin, has happened in this world already. And this is now just kind of an extension of that. So this to me is interesting. Because I think this is probably the right way to do it. It is kind of, giving me kind of vibes of Suits LA again, but not quite to the same degree. It feels a lot more original than Suits LA does, but it does kind of have that same remnants of that they're trying to use the Office IP while paired with an original concept. So to me, on a surface here, this seems like a better mix of the ingredients, if you will. It seems like it's going to be a more original concept with not that many nods to The Office, but I could be wrong. And NBC Universal could try to be doing pretty much the exact same thing that they did with Suits LA, and maybe they try to bring back, characters from The Office, and this kind of becomes a kind of lost thing again, like Suits LA kind of turned into, in my opinion. But anyways, we'll have to see. So like I said, Domhnall Gleeson, Sabrina Impacciatori, Chelsea Frey, Melvin Gregg, Gemisola Ikumalo, Alex Adelman, Ramona Young, Tim Key, and Oscar Nunez. So that's the cast. I don't really recognize a lot of those names, but that is the cast for the show. And then, of course, Greg Daniels and Michael Coleman, the creators here. And then, of course, it's on Universal Television, and it'll be on Peacock. So that's the other thing that was kind of interesting to me. And I just want to make sure, it was on Peacock, right? Unveiled the Office spinoff, the paper, and yeah, it is on Peacock. So that to me was a little bit of a head turner because I expected something like this to be on, an NBC, right? Like a linear network. Obviously, they are having the basketball rights now, and so that's going to take up a lot of their schedule. So maybe they thought, okay, maybe let's try to kind of save that room and let's put something like this on a Peacock where we have some more of that freedom to kind of put it on there. So that's interesting. I'm not sure how well this will do on Peacock. Obviously fans of The Office who are going to want to check this out, they're also going to get more traffic to Peacock, which might be some of their strategy here that they're trying to get at. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see, what happens here. But I do think that's kind of an interesting wrinkle in things that it's on Peacock instead of NBC. So we'll have to see. But anyways, very interesting, very intriguing here. And to be completely honest, I didn't even know this was happening. So this is a little bit surprising to me, coming across this news here that the paper, an Office spinoff is coming. And it's coming in September. Like this is, a few months away now. So anyways, we'll look forward to this one. Definitely be checking it out when it does come out. And we'll have to see how they handle the references to The Office and how, how much this one stays original and it's on its own path while also being based in the same universe. All things that we'll have to see when it comes out in September. All right, so that'll just do it for that topic there. It is lagging a little bit here, but I'm hoping it's not affecting the stream. So let's just check the chat here a little bit as well. And nothing, I don't think anything new here at this point. No, okay. All right. So 3 out of the 5. We did Suits LA, Fallout, The Office. All right. So this one is from Deadline. This one is very interesting because this is, Alien Earth, one of my most anticipated shows for this year. They've released all these teasers that have really not shown anything so far. There's been not a single frame of real footage in any of the teasers so far. They've just been constantly saying, summer 2025, summer 2025, Alien Earth is releasing, right? On FX on Hulu, right? So there's been a lot of stuff about this, and I feel like this now is the real first piece of news. It is the release date, right? Has now been released, has now been shared with people, or whatever you want to say. And there's also photos of Alien Earth, of the series, that have kind of, as the article states here, that reveal a first look at Noah Hawley's FX series as new details emerge about Alien Earth. So, an interesting article here, and I'll be, obviously trying to put these photos from the article up here as well as I discuss this one, so you can take a look at these kind of first look photos as well. But from the article here, we have Alien franchise fans have long awaited a look at, yes, and that's exactly what I was saying, right? Long awaited a look at Noah Hawley's upcoming FX series, Alien Earth, and that wait is officially over. Episodic photos of the ensemble cast, led by Sydney Chandler, who plays the character Wendy, can be found above and below in the article here. So the 8-episode season will premiere with 2 episodes on Tuesday, August 12th at 8 p.m. ET on Hulu and the FX linear channel at 8 p.m. ET in the US and via Disney Plus internationally. New episodes will drop on Tuesdays on Hulu beginning at 8 p.m. ET and FX at 8 p.m. ET. So it's the same time. I'm not sure why they wrote that twice there. But anyways, additionally, further details about what the show is about can be found below. So, along with the first look photos and the release date, we also didn't really have many details about, or at least a formal synopsis of what the show was even about. So this is also really kind of big news. So, when the mysterious deep space research vessel USCSS Maginot crash lands on Earth, Wendy, played by Sydney Chandler, and a ragtag group of tactical soldiers make a fateful discovery that puts them face to face with the planet's greatest threat in FX's Alien Earth. In the year 2020, the Earth is governed by 5 corporations: Prodigy, Wieland, Yutani, Lynch, Dynamic, and Threshold. In this corporate era, cyborgs, humans with biological and artificial parts, as they say, and synthetics, humanoid robots with artificial intelligence, exist alongside humans. But the game has changed when the Wonderkin founder and CEO Prodigy Corporation unlocks a new technological advancement: hybrids. So obviously they're humanoid robots, apparently. The first hybrid prototype, named Wendy, played by Chandler, marks a new dawn in the race for immortality. After Weyland Yutani's spaceship collides with Prodigy City, Wendy and the other hybrids encounter mysterious life forms more terrifying than anyone could have ever imagined. It was previously revealed that the series will feature 5 monsters. I'm not sure what they're referencing there. I don't know what monsters we're getting. If that means, obviously we're getting the xenomorphs, right? Like, is that what they're talking about? Like monsters? Like, what other monsters are we really seeing? So, that was kind of interesting to me. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but that is kind of all the details now that we're getting for it. So, Really interesting stuff. I'm not sure that I was expecting this, though. Sydney Chandler, who, by the way, was just in Sugar, I thought she did a great job in that show in season 1. So interested to see her name back here again. But for her to be playing this kind of hybrid, I was, really expecting them just to be normal humans, right? And kind of going about this like we have seen. Obviously, we've seen the humanoids, we've seen the artificial intelligence, right? In the very first film, and then obviously in Aliens, and then, with Prometheus and Alien Covenant with Michael Fassbender, right? And his great performance. But there was humans at the center of the story, and so I was a little confused that our main character now is actually not even going to be a full human. Though they do say that they are robots infused with human consciousness. So, I guess, technically, mentally she's a human, but physically she's not. And so maybe she can't be hurt. I don't know. I wonder if that'll affect the stakes of the story a little bit as we go forward. And I wonder if all of them are hybrids, or if it's just her as our main character. So that's something that's interesting. And all of this is kind of making a little more sense for, aliens being on Earth, right? It's not the Earth that we know today. A lot of stuff has obviously changed. So, gives us some more context and just some interesting stuff there. Some things to digest maybe that I haven't even quite, figured out yet or realized. And, so some stuff to do that, or some stuff to go into there for sure as time, gets closer to the series and we get more details. I'm sure we'll get, more information and we'll get a better picture of all of this, and how all of this comes into play, right? So this kind of sets the stage for what the world is going to look like, what Earth is going to look like, and what our characters may look like. And now, what does that mean when they say, they encounter mysterious life forms more terrifying than anyone could have ever imagined? So what happens then, right? The xenomorphs, I'm assuming that they're referencing there. What happens? Do they get loose on Earth? With this new Earth, how does that work, right? So there's just a lot of questions that actually still remain even after getting this new information, right? So the cast also includes Timothy Oliphant, who plays Kirsch, who I think it was already revealed that he's playing like a humanoid in the vein of, Michael Fassbender, like his type of character, David, right? I think it's kind of similar in that vein. And the picture of him is pretty awesome. He looks pretty cool in this. So really looking forward to see what he brings. And then obviously Alex Lothar as well. Samuel Blanken. Who else? Babu Cisse. Adrian Edmondson. David Rizdal. Essie Davis. Lily Newmark. Who I have heard of her. Arana James, Adarsh Gorev, Jonathan G, Kit Young, and Sandra Yee Sensendiver, who plays Utani. So anyway, some names in there that I don't recognize, probably like 4 of those names that I've recognized from other shows. But it is mostly younger actors that they have for the show. We do know that. So obviously those names are they haven't done a whole lot because of their age. So it is also interesting as well that it is going to be airing on FX and then also on Hulu. I was wondering that whether they would actually put it on their regular FX channel, and it seems like they will. So that is, I think, a good thing as well. I was going to be a little bit surprised if they didn't do that. So anyways, there are some pretty good photos here so far for the series. Again, not really revealing a whole lot. Seeing a little bit of the settings and that stuff, but nothing too crazy. Nothing with the xenomorphs at all. We haven't seen any of that stuff. Just mainly the actors here and kind of getting a sense of what this series is going to look like. So we all also have heard that, Noah Hawley, he said he has a lot of respect for the original movie. And so, he's not going to change, the way the technology looks or stuff like that, right? He's going to pay a lot of homage to, the original movie and kind of how things look, the aesthetics really of the original film by Ridley Scott. So that to me is really great. I'm really confident in this show. I do think there's a chance that this could kind of disappoint. I think there is a chance of it, obviously, but I'm going to be optimistic. I think, this one has a lot of potential, and I think it could be cool. As a huge fan, the original Alien film is like one of my favorite films of all time. You could throw the second one, Aliens, by Jim Cameron, in there as well. I'd be right up there. So I love this kind of franchise, if you will. I really like those two original movies. I actually like the third one probably more than some other people too. So really looking forward to this series. One of my most anticipated shows of the year, and it's really great to get a first look at some of this stuff. So really looking forward to Alien Earth coming out as in August, right? August 12th at 8 p.m. ET. So looking forward to this one for sure. All right. So some really great stuff there from Alien Earth. Finally, right? Finally, we got some news about the show. All right. All right. So let's go into our last topic, which we almost saved the best for last, I would say. Actually, with how much I have to say about this one. And how are we doing for time? Ooh, we are actually, we're doing well for time, so that's fine. So we probably won't get to the other two topics that I just talked about or mentioned. So we'll probably just stick with this one as our last one. So that's okay. All right. So here we go. So a Variety article here, and this one is about the Game of Thrones spinoff. So here we go. The Game of Thrones spinoff, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, shifts to a 2026 release. So this was from Variety, and we'll go into the article a little bit before sharing my thoughts on this one. And I do have thoughts, for sure. So Game of Thrones fans will have to wait a little longer to head back to Westeros, as the premiere of new spinoff series, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, has now been slated for 2026. While no official premiere date was ever set, Warner Bros. Discovery execs had previously said that the series, which is the second HBO prequel to Game of Thrones, would air by the end of 2025. And I just want to add something to this as well, is that George, in some of his blogs and some of the details around the show here, almost essentially confirmed a summer release date, by the way, for this show. So the article says would air by the end of 2025, but there was some stuff out there that this was summer. I mean, this was almost, official, really, that it was a summer release date for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Maybe, again, maybe I could just be exaggerating. Maybe George said that and you didn't really know fully or whatever. But I swear that I saw, a coming soon or next on or whatever, the HBO trailers that they do. And that is usually like for the first half of the year. I swear that, it has said in that one of those trailers that it said summer 2025. But maybe I am, mistaking that. Maybe George didn't know fully. Who knows, right? But anyways, they say it would air by the end of 25. So at the very least, that was incorrect, and something has happened here, but I even think it was supposed to be summer. I think we were like less than 2 months away from this premiering, right? So on Wednesday, the news of the show's push to 2026 was revealed via a first look at the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms trailer that was shown during Warner Brothers' upfront presentation when they had all these upfronts for the networks and the streamers, right, last week, or I think last week, right? So the title card at the end of the footage said 2026. But HBO Content Chairman and CEO Casey Blois narrowed that down further on stage by saying the show was coming in the winter when he queued up the teaser indicating an early 2026 release. HBO has not announced the premiere window for the third season of House of the Dragon, which is currently in production and has been confirmed as the penultimate in a 4-season run. So, we'll just, I guess this is worthy enough to go into this. So, obviously, it's adapted from the Duncan Egg, right? The Hedge Knight, right? That's what the material that they're going to be going into here with the spinoff from George R. R. Martin. So, the full logline for the series is a century before the events of Game of Thrones. Two unlikely heroes wandered Westeros, a young, naive, but courageous knight, Sir Duncan the Tall, and his diminutive squire, Egg. Set in an age when the Targaryen line still holds the Iron Throne, and the memory of the last dragon has not yet passed from living memory, great destinies, powerful foes, and dangerous exploits all await these improbable and incomparable friends. And it is Knight of Seven is written and executive produced by Martin and Ira Parker, who wrote for House of the Dragon as well. Ryan Condal, it says, is also a producer on it with Vince Guerrierdis. who was, on House of the Dragon. So a lot of House of the Dragon names here as well. And it says that, who is this here? Owen Harris will direct 3 of the 6 episodes in season 1. So interesting there. Okay. So that is the article. That's basically all they go into here. And an interesting part of the article here is they kind of allude to it, but they don't really say it out loud. It's that they have not announced a premiere window for the 3rd season of House of the Dragon. So let's get into this here. So this is crazy to me. Like, let's just say it, right? Let's put it out on the table. This is crazy to me. A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We just got an article. I just read this not too long ago on the show here when I was, they were talking about House of the Dragon going into production or something for season 3. And it was the content boss or the president, I think it wasn't Casey Boyce, but it was a different person who explicitly said and was even bragging about in this article that A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is a very kind of sparse, grounded story where there isn't going to be, as much effects and as much work, that goes into a show like that, like House of the Dragon, where you have dragons and fighting and battles. This was a show that was going to be, like I said, grounded, a little more smaller scale, right? It's not going to have that kind of epic feel, or maybe it will, but not to the same extent that House of the Dragon or, definitely not Game of Thrones would have, right? And she was bragging about this, and even like in that article, I remember reading that she said, we should, be able to get these seasons done 1 a year, right? So we have kind of a yearly, show that we can pick up on here. It's only 6 episodes this first season of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, right? So it's 6 episodes. It's a grounded show. We're pulling things back a little bit. Again, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something like that we could do this once a year. And it's, basically she's saying it's an easier show to produce. It's easier for us. We'll get a season a year. And this is kind of a lower scale show, lower budget, obviously, as well. Okay. So what happened here? What happened? Again, like I said, I heard, and I feel like the details were around there, that this was summer of 2025, but okay, at the very least, it was by the end of 2025, so probably like the fall time. So, and now they say, it's a winter release date, that it indicates an early 2026 release, but, they're probably not going to premiere it in January, right? So now we're talking about February, March time, right? Something like that. So this is now being delayed, like at least 6 months, right? If you want to, take their word, probably 6 months. But if it was supposed to be in the summer, we're talking about maybe 8 months, maybe 9 months, right? That this is now being delayed. So there's just something here that's not adding up. And something that I've seen other people point out, which is exactly, maybe not my first thought, but once I heard about it, I'm like, yeah, that makes complete sense. And that is the fact that House of the Dragon is going to get pushed back, right? That's I think that is what's going on here. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Again, there'll be effects work in this. I don't want to discount the work of lots of people who are probably going to be working on this, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms show, who are going to do some great effects work, and we're not even going to notice it, right? That's the best effects work is when you don't even notice it, obviously. But there's not as much as House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones by, like, leagues of scale here, right? Like, it's just way less effects. This should not take as much time as those other shows. And that was even echoed, like I said, by the chief content officer or whatever of HBO, right? They know that it doesn't take a lot of time. So there's no reason why this needed to be delayed, like I said, 9 months or maybe at the very least 6 months, unless they're trying to do this strategically and trying to kind of lighten the blow that I think is about to come, and that is that House of the Dragon will not be ready for 2026, which is in itself insane, right? Again, I believe it's only going to be 8 episodes, season 3. I think so. Maybe even 7 episodes. I remember correctly hearing that. So 7 or 8 episodes. I don't think it's going to be any more than 8, right? An 8 episode season is now going to take, so the second season was in 2024, right? In the summer. I think it was like July or something, or June maybe, of 2024. We are now going to have to wait at least, more than 2 years for another 8 episodes. And yes, I understand, especially the first couple episodes, I think. It's like the Battle of the Gullet, right? That's going to be the first couple episodes of season 3, and that's going to take a lot of time to shoot. A lot of effect work is going to go into that. Okay, fair, right? But I hate to say it, let's go back to Game of Thrones. Battle of the Bastards, Watchers on the Wall. They've said that this is the biggest battle episode that they've done in the history of the universe, but I don't know, stuff like Blackwater, the amount of effects work that was done, especially back then at that time too, like, I'm sure the effects work took even longer to do. What else am I missing? Like, Hard Home, a lot of those sequences with the effects work and the filming of that must have taken a long time. So that to me is not an excuse. It's an excuse for, it's going to take a while, but not more than 2 years to do this. And another thing that has to be considered is the fact that they are only in production now. And it was only, I remember talking about the article, it was only like a month ago or so now, maybe a little more than that they even started production on season 3. So we are now, from the time that it premiered in 2024, and it was at least 10 months or 9 months between the time that season 2 was on the air and them actually going into production, starting production on season 3. Why? I just talked about Fallout, the recent news that they've renewed season 3 now, 8 months before season 2, they've renewed season 3 before season 2 is even going to premiere on Amazon Prime Video, right? Why did it take them that long between season 2 airing and season 3 going into production? I think that is one of the main questions that has to be considered here is, okay, fair. The effects work is going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time to shoot this biggest battle in the history of the universe, which remains to be seen, but we'll have to see. Okay, but then why did it take you 8 to 9 months, maybe even 10 actually, between the premiere of season 2 and going into production on season 3? That to me is mind-boggling. That just doesn't make sense for a show this high profile, for it being so successful in season 1, even season 2, the negative reception of it, yes, but the ratings were there, the popularity is there. There is demand for this show. It is HBO's one of their top shows, like top 3, right? Last of Us is big right now, but I think House of the Dragon is right there with it, if not even more popular. It doesn't make sense why this took so long to go into production here. And the fact that now it's basically everything points to it now getting delayed as well and pushing to 2027 before we get season 3 of House of the Dragon. This is just so disappointing. It's a mess to me. It is a true mess, the way that they've handled the franchise now with these spin-offs, and now even to show like Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which again, not really any thing that would make sense for delaying a show like this, a 6-episode, by the way, 6-episode season of TV, right? Now they are delaying that because House of the Dragon is getting pushed. And I guess one of the reasons people think is that they don't want to have, a whole year in between, where they have no Game of Thrones shows, and they want to get a Night of the Seven Kingdoms a little closer to House of the Dragon coming out so that people don't lose as much interest, right? But okay, then all of 2025, we're not going to have anything from Game of Thrones. So I'm not sure that that's even quite correct either. But either way, that's what it's pointing to. That's the direction I think that we're headed for this universe. And, seeing what George said about, Ryan Condal's handling of it, I'm not sure that he was quite really going at HBO at all, but maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's part of his disappointment right now with how this has gone. Obviously, Ryan Condal and the points about the material and the adaptation process, but maybe he's also just fed up with HBO and how this has all been handled. So we'll have to see what happens here. Obviously, I do have high hopes for House of the Dragon Season 3, especially the first couple episodes, which is essentially the finale that we never got of Season 2. We'll have to see how that is. I'm optimistic. I am looking forward to it. And I am kind of looking forward to the Night of the Seven Kingdoms as well. But to hear this news, it it really dampens my excitement, my enthusiasm for the world of Westeros right now, and I just think this is really bad mishandling of what they're doing here. It just is. There's no reasonable explanation for the stuff that's happening with House of the Dragon and A Night of the Seven Kingdoms now getting delayed. So I don't know. It's frustrating. It really is. I really hope that they're able to, once it actually does premiere A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, they really should be delivering another season of that show the next year, the next calendar year, for sure. So anyways, again, maybe I'm ignorant on some things. Maybe some things behind the scenes that went on. I don't know, but maybe they should share that then if we're supposed to know, and maybe we'll understand a little bit more as well. So anyways, those are my thoughts on this news here that Night of the Seven Kingdoms has been delayed, and pretty much House of the Dragon has also been delayed. But anyways, love to hear your guys' thoughts on this one, of course. And like I said, looking forward to it once it actually does come out. All right, so those are my thoughts on that story there. Like I said, very frustrating and a little disappointing, to say the least, in the Game of Thrones universe there for what HBO has done with it. So anyways, so that just about does it then for all those articles of news. Like I said, it's a TV news roundup episode, and there is quite a lot to get to. So let me just check the chat here and see what we're at here and see. So I do see, so some people, if you have any like questions or anything, to put in the chat, I am going to wrap up here in a couple minutes. So that would be great. Or, if anyone, I know we got some chats before, if you're still here to say anything, but if not, that's fine too. We'll wrap up in a couple minutes here. All right. So that just about does it for all the TV news, like I said. There's a couple extra as well. There was one, A Man on the Inside, I think season 2 was going in production, so that's kind of exciting to hear that one, the Ted Danson show on Netflix last year, which I thought it was pretty charming. It was pretty funny, actually. I thought it worked pretty well. I do, recommend that to some people. Lately I have recommended it to some people, and they've really liked it, so that is really, really fun, and hopefully we'll get another season of that later this year. So a couple other news topics like that, but other than that, I think we really covered everything. Suits LA, Fallout, The Office, Alien Earth, and then Night of the Seven Kingdoms to wrap things up. And looks like we got good time here. So anyways, last call for any chats at the end of the thing here before I wrap up. Anything about what we've talked about Suits, Fallout, Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Game of Thrones, anything like that. But if not, that's fine as well. All right, so let me just make sure that we covered everything on this. And this is lagging. I really hope the stream is okay, and it's not lagging as much as I am here. But hopefully we'll get that figured out for next time. But yeah, so I think I basically have talked about everything. Doesn't seem like anything new here in the chat. So all right, so we'll wrap up there with that. So next week, hopefully we'll do another show, like I say all the time. If there is news to talk about, I definitely want to hop on here and talk about it. Like this week, there was a lot of news. So hopefully there'll be some more news to talk about next week. And like I said, once we get into June, it feels like more shows are going to be coming out, some new shows coming out, so there'll be lots more to talk about then. But right now, for the next month or so, it feels like we're in a little bit of a lull in terms of kind of new shows and, kind of franchise, stuff going on. I know The Last of Us is just wrapping up. I haven't been checking out the season. I've kind of been hearing a lot about it. It's been everywhere. Unfortunately, I've got it kind of spoiled what happens in season 2. So I might check that out. I watched season 1. So I might check back on that. But now that I've got it spoiled, I'm a little less interested, to be honest. But we'll have to see in that one. But that one will be wrapping up soon. And a few other shows that are coming to an end. And obviously, stay tuned on the channel for my Righteous Gemstones review that I'll be doing, hopefully, fingers crossed, in the next couple days. We'll get that one out. So anyways, that looks like it's about it for tonight. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I know we have had a few people here, so I do appreciate it. And Bray Profits who added to the chat there. Hopefully I helped you out, man, with your recommendation. Hopefully you caught it. But anyway, so thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you hopefully next week for the next episode of Let's Talk Television. All right, guys, take care. Have a good night.